running to pick nomination forms for the presidency?
It's their right. You can't stop them. Whether they are jokers or they are comedians, I mean, you can't stop them. That is the law that we have. Of course, some countries like Singapore have a safety valve for the highest office. I mean, not every Tom, Dick, and Harry can pick forms to lead a nation because they have held that position in high esteem. But remember during Toji Kwatako, during the appeasement amendment, they lowered even the age to 18 years. And God knows which 18-year-old can lead a country. It's just a big joke. But you know, it is not typical in many countries, including the former Western world, that an 18-year-old would go and just pick up papers. So we lowered the bar too low, and we made it accessible to everyone. So speaking of nomination forms, some do it for comedy, others do it as a way of expression. It's not final, it's not absolute in itself. Of course, you have to gather signatures, go back, organize yourselves, and probably put up a formidable team to run.
It looks so unpleasant. Do you agree?
It doesn't look a pleasant picture, but that is what we have. It is significant that we see that, so that it paints the picture of what Uganda has become.
What has Uganda become?
You know, when you over-liberalize institutions and you make leadership a bunch of jokers, that is what you get.
Along the way, what have you...
And let me ask you a question, and it's very simple. I normally ask it from people. In a country where you tell a nursery school teacher to hold a bachelor's to be a graduate, a head teacher of a primary school to have a master's degree, but it's the same country where you tell a policymaker that to go to the highest office of that land, you only need to be a senior 6 dropout or have an equivalent. What a joke of a nation.
And you being sucked into the joke.
Yeah, because I'm qualified. I'm actually overqualified academically to sit with some of them. And that's why I applaud my sister that it's important for us to hold a debate so that it is a contest of ideas, not a contest of fashions. Like you saw jokers, you saw some coming, you know, like...
wearing shorts.
Wearing shorts, etc. Because that is where our politics has gone. It's no longer a contest of those that have great ideas, but it's now a contest of who can show what to the public.
Along the way, as the steam builds towards the 2026 polls, what have been your observations so far?
There's voter apathy. People are no longer interested in elections, basically, because they tend to think that now politics doesn't add value to them. It has reached that extent. So you might see one of the lowest voter turn-up in this election. There is nothing to inspire them to go to the polls because they tend to think it's going to be the very same thing they have been experiencing. And it's because the political space has been narrowed down by both the people in the media, by trying to draw a narrative that it's a contest between, I would call it rubbish and garbage. Yes, rubbish and garbage.
Has it been anywhere in the media that people have been reduced or given the description of rubbish?
Because whenever we are here, people are not asked about their ideas that they hope to front. I've been following what media is discussing. You're only discussing the internal rifts in parties, the deployment of money, but leaders have not been put to account what values and ideas they have to move our nation from a third world to a first world. So it's a contest between garbage and rubbish.
Are trends speaking to a unique election, or the country is just braced for another cycle of an election routine?
Every 5 years, the taxpayer foots a bill of about $500 million in elections. From printing ballots, display of voters' registers, a 2-year cycle of elections, from special interest groups, LCs, whatever it is, to elect a parliament, then form an executive, then lower councils, etc., and local government, the question should be, is it worth that we should spend over 1.5 trillion shillings, which is about 500 to 700, it's tuned about 500 to 700 million dollars, leave alone the expenditure that is meted by the candidates who participate in elections, which should sit to about $1.2 billion. So if candidates included and the government through the taxpayers, through the Electoral Commission, bear a cost of not less than $1.2 billion in order to determine their leaders every 5 years. That means for every cycle of 20 years, the country has spent over $5.6 billion and more, a minimum of that. So what sort of country is that? It's not geared for development. The question we should ask is, one, how have the elections impacted the ordinary person? And I don't want an answer now from you. Have you helped? Have they changed anything in your lifestyle? If Njala is elected or President Museveni is elected, how has the ordinary life of a person changed? For having elected in the last 5 years, having had a parliament of 526 leaders, having had district chairpersons, councillors, etc. We should audit what is the impact of politics vis-a-vis personal development, community development, and national development. With a country that has no vision, we have no mission, we don't have a collective strategy, and we don't deploy the right tactics in achieving the vision. You've heard every country has a vision. Vision 2040, Vision 2050, and it's a shared vision. If you ask those that are assembled at Nambole, that what is the Kololo, that what is your vision? They will say, no, there is an old man with a vision. President Museveni has the vision. Because they don't know where we're going. And the question has been set out clearly with answers. It is only a fool that follows without asking where you're going, that only asks how far. The bulk of the people participating in politics, who must determine, ladies and gentlemen, who are viewing us from wherever you're viewing us, a politician is the person that determines your well-being and holds the glue that holds, the integral part, what we call the state. They hold the glue through legislation, creation of laws and policies that impact the ordinary man.
Yeah, but
so you ask the trader today, you understand, the ordinary man who walks out of home is taxed through their businesses, through their sweat. They don't have a job, they are educating their children expensively, and their children have no hope for the future. And you tell them what is the impact of politics on your general well-being.
Yeah, but Honorable Nsereko, do you think it's too little, too late for the country to get onto the drawing board and look at elections and their relevance to the populace?
Yes.
As we head to 2026,
yes,
is it time to see?
Yes, the ordinary person has to do that and say, of what benefit is the person I'm going to elect? Because Simon Kagwanjala, right now, how does a child who has gone through COVID, 18-year-old now, has sat O-level through a new curriculum, look back and think that the Ministry of Education has now told him, we have no curriculum for you for A-level? You understand what I'm saying? What do you think what that sort of nation is? Where we politicians that sell the policy and say we have a very nice education system, the president looks out there and says, ladies and gentlemen, Uganda has a very good education system. But through that education system, there is none, neither his children nor his grandchildren are educated in the same system. And the same to us as the leaders, that they do not trust the hospitals where they send the ordinary person, and then go to that ordinary person and tell them in Kanungu, in Lango sub-region, in Karamoja, I've given you the best health care that you can have, and it can serve you. But the president, the leaders, and everyone cannot go to the same health care that they send the public to. So it's a point of hypocrisy.
A few minutes
So
ago,
that is the reality.
A few minutes ago.
That is the reality that the world is going through. That a child goes through this education system and is very much sure that they'll never get a job because you must compete
you are certain
with
that,
my son and Kagwanjala's, but Kagwanjala is an ordinary person, with my son and the president's son, who go for the best education because we have access to resources. And that son of someone from Kanyantorogo, from Butogota, from Lalibi,
who casts a ballot.
Who casts the ballot and says this government must stay on longer, has no hope for the future. Will go through, go for O-level, and is not sure that there is a curriculum in
A-level. You've accused the media of being obsessed with garbage.
Yes, and rubbish.
Don't you think it's very critical for us now to put on the pedestal and expose the rifts emerging within parties, the drama in parties, the lack of internal democracy?
Of what value is that? I don't think it has any value, because tell me which party is stable. No party. In which party there is a semblance of democracy? No single party.
Yeah, but I think it gives us a good evaluation of
what?
Who wants to lead the country.
Because at the end of the day, Simon Kagwanjala, people are looking at politics as an opportunity for survival. Tell me how many politicians outside politics are employable. Yeah, just name one politician you would employ. I don't think you'll get more than 3% to run even an ordinary school.
Can I hear this again?
It's the reality.
A politician who is employable outside politics?
Not many. Because it's just mere access to resources. And when they have access to resources, it's to compromise the public. Be shrewd enough to go and pick papers. I mean, have a thick skin to withstand abuses, and then go and lead others. So the moment elites walk out of governance, those that have ideas are being led by those that do not have ideas. The least qualified are leading the most qualified, because the most qualified do not have the courage to step forward. Including you. You tested the waters and you ran away. You're not resilient.
I realized.
You're the best. No, I've always told you.
I realized electoral politics wasn't my thing, and I pray we don't go there.
No, I've always told you, you're one of the best that we have, and the public can judge this. You have great ideas, you're eloquent, you're confident. This is what we need from you.
But I can't subject myself to drama.
I know, but the moment you do not subject yourself to that, then you leave it to the least qualified.
Listen, let me tell you, I've been through the political furnace. I know what goes
on
there.
I agree. You leave it to the least qualified, then to determine your future.
I leave it to the crooked.
Not to the, who can. You can name them anything.
Who can steal to win an election.
No, Kagwa, you leave it to the least qualified to lead you. And when they lead you...
Okay, the least qualified who will use unscrupulous means to get to power.
Yes, absolutely, but we need your resilience. Don't come once and run away.
So, okay, you want me to subject myself to a shady process.
Come back again.
The shadiness of our politics today
and correct it.
Cannot be my thing.
No, correct it. Because, Kagwa, don't you feel the pain?
I do.
You do?
I do.
So now that you feel
Big
the
time.
pain, how do we realize that you have better ideas without stepping forward? Don't worry about them.
No,
I was in your constituency, and
I'm at a better platform.
And people in Katabi were telling me, Kagwan, this is, a wonderful discussion. That try to convince that gentleman to come back. We are sorry. I find this flattery.